Watch me on Kick, dude. What are you doing? Howdy. What's going on, fellas? Hey, Daddy, how are you? I'm alive. Daddy. How was your weekend / Memorial Day? I don't know, man. I spent all my time working. I actually just got off work. The man, the myth, the motherfucking trailer park legend, Michael Paul Hargrove is here, Ocean. I hate my middle name. Papa, what's going on, son? Might be going to Florida in July. Hey, that sounds fun, dude. Sounds like a promising time. That sounds real fun. Don't hate it. It's who you are. Yeah, I know. And it makes my initials kind of cool. Some miles per hour. That's pretty dope. So how was y'all's Memorial Day weekend? Everybody have fun? Yeah, dude, that sounds like a great time. It's always fun when you get to go like travel with family. At least I always have fun when we're traveling with family. I don't know. I think it's hilarious. I ain't done shit this whole weekend besides go to church. I need that Lord JC. It was alright, I guess. Just been missing you. Hell yeah. Everything will go back normal for too long, boys. It's just a little out of whack right now. You know what I mean? Mike, you're glowing. Twiddling my fingers, waiting for Papa to come back to the stove. Or come back from the stove. Mike, you're glowing. I don't know why. I mean, the only thing going on with me is I'm fucking horribly exhausted. See what Casey put in the RP Discord? I did not. I have a raging hangover. That sounds horrible. Let's see what old Casey Bear said in the Discord here. Where'd he put it at? He put it in the community chat? Oh! I lost poker last night, too. That sounds fucking awful. That boy said he was ready for RP to come back. He's bored of Forza. It is still shut down. I don't know. I have no idea when it'll be like reopened or anything, or like what is like fully being agreed on right now. I know some ideas kicked around that might be kind of cool, so I will say that. So what's on the agenda for today? There's a video that I seen that I want to watch with y'all. It's called "The Dumbest Deaths in History." I think that would be funny. $40 buy-in, so not too bad, but damn, it's tragic. I don't give a fuck if it was $5. It's tragic. I don't like to lose money for no reason, boys. In case y'all haven't noticed, I'm not a gambling man. Only thing I've ever gambled with is my life, and that was probably the worst gamble I've ever made. You? Oh, God. Y'all gonna hate on me for what you're finna see. But, be aware that for the first time in probably I don't know, probably a year. Other than my display RC colas, there's not RC cola in my house. And it's because I've been at work and have not went to the grocery store. And my wife's been the only one shopping. Most of the time I'll be like, hey, you know, I need this, that. No, I'm not going to bust a Coke out. And instead, I'm drinking one of my wife's drinks. And it's an American Dew. It's not a Mountain Dew. It's an American Dew. I don't drink Coca-Cola. After they did their whole spiel about, you know, people being too white. That was too much for me. The only thing from Coca-Cola I would actively drink right now, if it popped up on the shelf, would fucking buy it out, is Surge. And that's because I got one of the Surge cans right there on the wall. That's from my childhood, though. I'll kill your bitch ass. What the fuck? Howdy, brother. What's going on, man? The fucking betrayal. I'll punch the goddamn out of you. I love American Dew. Ah! It ain't my fault, okay? I've asked for RC Cola for like 3 days. And I drank my last one yesterday at lunch. I knew I was running low. It was what it was. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've asked for it for 3 days. This is where we are. America. Yeah. AC's been out for 2 days. God damn it, and that motherfucker just sweating, bro. Head drenched. You better be taking cold showers every 15 minutes. Run that water bill up. Is it staying American Dew for good? No. Like he said, I think it's just the 4th of July thing. I think after the 4th of July, the American Dew's gone. So if you get the chance, if you can grab an American Dew can, just keep it. You know what I mean? Because, like, if it's full and it says American Dew, it might be worth something in the future. If they don't ever change, like, the actual name again. Personally, I think, like, seeing it say American Dew is kind of cool. And I think the reason why it's kind of cool is because, you know how, like, on, like, Spider-Man with, like, the multiverse, or, like, the Deadpool movie with the multiverse, or whatever it is, you know, like, everything in each world is relatively the same with some, like, differences to it. And it's almost like looking at, like, a multiverse Mountain Dew. Instead of it being Mountain Dew, it's just American Dew. That's kind of funny. You know what I mean? That's what it makes me think of. No, it's for the 250th anniversary for the Declaration. Oh, okay. So how long does it stay American Dew then? This year? Like the whole year? Until the 4th, probably. Ah. Are you ever seen how goddamn expensive Pokemon games is for the Nintendo? I have. It's fucking insanely ridiculous. $59.99. Dude, it was so funny the other day whenever I was at work, this old dude come in. And he set like this little drill bit, and that bitch was about that long. He set it on the table. And I scanned it. And that motherfucker popped up and said $22.99. And he went, bruh! And looked at me all crazy. And I went, hey, brother, I'm new. I don't even know what the prices are around here. And he was like, put that sumbitch back. I don't need it. I was like, all right, then. That shit just caught me off guard, dude. It was so funny. I did not expect him to scream like that. I laughed at him. Did I hear screaming chitrin? Probably. I think they're all getting ready to go to the store. Speaking of which, I'm going to text and remind. Get my ass some RC Cola. Also, if he's got time today, after the video's over with, since, you know, the RP server is shut down for the time being, so when the video's over with, dude, I'd like to play some Bigfoot with Casey Bear. If you know, I don't know what he's doing. I haven't got the chance to talk to him today, but I'll reach out to him at some point and see if he wants to play it with me. It's 93 today, and it's hot. Call his ass right now. He ain't doing shit. He would love to play on stream. I'll call him on stream, but I'll mute it because Casey is a firecracker. You never know what he's going to say. He's unpredictable as goddamn. I'll play with you, bub. Well, hell yeah. I could never. You could never what? Probably won't stream, though. Right on. All right. I'm about to pop open this video here real quick, and then after this video's over with, I'll call Mr. Casey Bear. See what he's doing. This video's not very long. If you don't mind me playing. No, it don't bother me. All right. Let's see. Whoosh. It says the silliest deaths in history, but that's not the name of it. I don't know why it says that. Casey Darnell Flat. Maybe it's because I grew up poor, but I'll never call a mechanic, a plumber, or an HVAC guy, or a roofer. It said, we're utility knives, goddammit. We'll do all that shit ourselves. Damn it, I can't hear nothing. I said I grew up poor, but I also grew up stupid. Fuck. Yeah, I think the reason why they try to, make a band off of everything is because motherfuckers nowadays are scared to death they're not going to get another job for fucking 2-3 weeks. You know what I mean? YouTube? I had it muted initially. I had YouTube muted initially. Tell me what to do, boy. Alright. Silliest deaths in history.
The silliest deaths in history. Sometimes it's your own pride that can get the best of you. This is Hans Steininger, and this is his beard. Hey, my eyes are up here. Looking like the wisest wizard in the world, Hans was a public spectacle in this.
That man needs to be slapped in the goddamn face. With a beard like that, there's nothing more in this world that you need than somebody to grab that motherfucker and just swing you around like a merry-go-round. You know he was a prick. Look at it. Tell me that guy wasn't a prick.
16th century, and also a well-respected politician. Cause, I mean, come on, who are you gonna vote for? Majestic and marvelous beard boy Hans, or the lame and lackluster clean-shaven Franz? Und that is how I will be lowering taxes while simultaneously providing affordable healthcare and housing for all. Alright, but where's your beard? I don't have one. This guy stinks! But behind that big bushel of bristles...
Thank God he added the SpongeBob sound effect. That made it so much better.
Beats a kind heart, one that legitimately cared for his town and its people. So much so that Hans was elected as mayor for 6 consecutive terms for the town of Braunau am Inn, a town that resides on the border between modern-day Austria and Germany. It's also the birthplace of another famous facial hair haver, albeit far less loved by history, but that's another story. Measuring in at over 4.5 feet in length, Hans's big-ass beard was his defining feature.
Y'all think that, like, his beard and his pubes got tangled? like they just got all tangled up when he would piss? Mentioned! For show. I wondered that.
And was certainly a testament to his patience and care in many aspects in his life. If you can brush your beard, you can untangle legislative issues. If you can oil up your whiskers, you can lubricate the political machine. So it goes without saying that cosmetology and political science are of equal value. At least from a college degree standpoint. However, Hans's biggest asset would be his downfall, quite literally. On September 28th,
I bet that man stepped on his own beard and broke his goddamn neck. How much you want to bet, dude? How much you want to bet he stepped on his beard and his shit went forward and just snapped his goddamn neck?
1567, a fire broke out in the town, which was a much bigger threat back then than it is today. Since the extent of firefighting tactics were just pathetic pails of water, a single small fire could reduce your whole town to cinders real quick. Hans, who usually tucked his beloved beard into a leather pouch for safekeeping and uninhibited travel, let his lusciously long locks whimsically whip in the wind as he ran to help with the fire. Scuttling down some stairs in a panic, Hans had accidentally slammed a
I fucking called it. I knew it. I knew he was going to go out like that. I knew he would go out like that.
piggy right on his own facial pubes, causing him to slip and trip down the entire staircase. He snaps his neck, and the town was devastated.
What a fucking shitty way to die. Seriously, what a fucking shitty way to die. Like, you know, just picture that for a second. You're this really majestic man. Everybody looks to you for answers. You've got a beard of a god, dude. You know, you're running things. Everything's good, bro. You try to spring into action like some sort of pubed up fucking superhero, you know, like pube man. You're going to go for it, bro. Step on your beard, break your neck. Damn, bro. His only kryptonite was him. Oh, it's fucked, dude. You seem a lot more like yourself today, Bubby. I love it. I love y'all too, dude. I miss y'all dearly. There's nothing wrong with me. I just want y'all to know that. There's nothing wrong with me, dude. I'm just doing what a husband's supposed to do, dude. You know, my woman needed help, and I'm just trying to be there for her. You know what I mean? Really worried about her. But I'm glad that I seem like myself, you know, because I was worried that I might be a little off-putting because I was tired from work. But after I sat down in here with y'all and y'all started like spamming the chat and talking to me and whatnot, making me laugh, it made me feel good. I respect you, good sir. You're doing a great thing, bub. I appreciate it, Bubby. I hate to see you worried, Papa. I know, dude. It sucks. Doing grown folk shit is all. Hell yeah. But like I said earlier, like I told Alan earlier, it won't last forever, dude. Eventually, I mean, everything's gonna go back to normal. And I did figure out, by the way, just to go ahead and let y'all know real quick before we jump back into this, I did figure out what the TMH After Dark channel will consist of. So, obviously, it'll be a talking head. It'll be me sitting here, like, you know, talking and stuff. But the channel's main focus will be, like, cryptics, like Sasquatch, ghosts, aliens, conspiracy theories, cults, you know, like, stuff like that, but specifically, like, all original content where, like, I deep dive into it. I find all the evidence. I talk about all the shit, doing all that stuff, you know, like researching topics and everything else. Hell yeah, please, God, give me research topics. Please. I will. And I'll literally pay you. No, you don't have to do that. And you know, that channel will grow significantly fast. And the reason that being is because who doesn't love those topics? And if I take my personality with the way, like, I make people laugh and I implement it into something that's as interesting as Sasquatch and aliens and all this other crazy shit, people will eat that channel up, dude. And eventually it'll get to the point to where I can make so much money off of YouTube and simultaneously streaming for the people that do end up coming over to the streams. Because even though I won't put the little streaming pop-ups on the thing, I'll still put the stream links in the description of that video, just in case people want to come, like, watch me live and, like, join the community and hang out with us. To where, like, I won't have to worry about working, and my wife won't have to worry about working, and, you know, we'll just be good, and everything will be all right. Bigfoot touches Alan on his pee-pee. Michael's reaction. Man said he'll pay you to put him to work. Holes right now. All right. Anyway, his only kryptonite was himself, boys. How devastating to the town.
Not by the fire, but by the loss of their beloved mayor. Before being buried, the townsfolk had Hans's beard gently removed and chemically preserved, immortalizing his legacy.
That motherfucker was not gently removed. What year did they say this was? What year was Fear Said Beard? I can't remember what year this was, but it definitely was not modern enough to be gently removed. That motherfucker was probably torn from his face like Velcro. I'm just letting y'all know.
The forever facial hair is still on display in a museum in the town today. You know his ghost is pissed, though.
Dude, this sounds ridiculous, but I kind of want to go see that beard. That is the beard that killed a man. And I want to see it.
Ever have an extreme case of the sleepy ha-has where you find anything and everything to be complete?
Before that feller was not a good German, was born. So before 1850. Oh.
Comedic gold to the point of not being able to even breathe? Now try to imagine this soggy scoop of Cheerios doing that. This is Chrysippus, a rather influential Greek Stoic philosopher in the 3rd century BC. In case you don't peruse that corner of YouTube, Stoicism is the philosophy that you only ever need to focus on what you can control in your life. Anything reasonably outside of that control, Hakunas Matatis, not my problemas. Which is a pretty solid philosophy, especially in this age of doom and gloom social media designed to make you perpetually paranoid and pissed off. Chrysippus was also a huge proponent of logical reasoning.
Look how hairy they got his nipple right now. That motherfucker look like an eyeball with eyelashes.
Having created an original system of propositional logic, stuff like if, then, and or statements that we use to describe the world around us today. For example, if you are not subscribed to this channel, then you're dead to me. Simple logic. The basic idea is that any and all things happen for a reason. Well, I'm sure Chrysippus would have a hard time understanding the logic and reasoning surrounding his rather untimely death. According to legend, Chrysippus, at the fermented old age of 73, got trashed at a feast. In his slizzard state, he had stumbled upon a donkey who was munching on some figs. Registering at least a 6.9 on the ancient Greek comedy scale, the masticating mule was a hilarious sight to behold, prompting Chrysippus to exclaim, quote, "Now give the donkey some pure wine to wash down the figs." This added punchline sent the Lord of Logic over the edge. Chrysippus reportedly hurled himself into a fit of laughter so intense that he had collapsed, foaming at the mouth. Despite some nearby partygoers attempting to help him, he had knocked himself dead with his own joke. But the
That motherfucker laughed himself to death. Like, dude. I mean, okay. Would you rather want to go out screaming? Would you really want to go out, like, you know, crying? Would you want to go out fucking depressed and sad? I mean, would you want to go out laughing? This motherfucker found that joke so funny that it killed him. It's fucked up to say, but that's fantastic.
question is, can you actually die from laughter? Sure you can. It's rare, but medically possible. If you laugh your ass off to the point of it being an uncontrollable fit, that actually puts a lot of stress on your heart. So if you have a weak heart, you're probably going to exacerbate some underlying conditions, leading to a heart attack. You also have the possibility of losing consciousness if you laugh yourself out of breath for long enough. But you have to hear or see something exceptionally funny for that to happen, so don't worry, you're safe here. Now, of course, this recount of events is debated by historians. The guy who documented this particular death was ancient Greek biographer Diogenes Laertius, who lived a few hundred years after Chrysippus' death, so he was far from an eyewitness. Diogenes nuts! On top of that, he also wrote an alternative, more mundane account of the comical death, simply writing that Chrysippus died of alcohol poisoning after drinking too much undiluted wine, but I guess he needed to spice some things up for his readers.
So, what? Did he not actually die of laughter? Just die of alcohol poisoning? Because that's not fun. You know what I mean? Like, I was hoping this motherfucker was like, and it was gone, dude.
If there was ever proof that the universe has a cruel sense of humor, Then it's the curious case of American lawyer and politician Clement Vallandigham. Howdy. Though he resided in the Union state of Ohio during the mid-1800s, Clement was adamantly against the Civil War, calling it, quote, a wicked, cruel, and unnecessary war. Which is fine, but being a member of the Copperhead faction of the anti-war Democrats, Clement was a very vocal Confederate sympathizer, speaking out against President Lincoln and the abolition of slavery, to which Lincoln was all and sent him to the South to live amongst his Confederate companions in 1863. Clement, who was clearly not about that life, snuck aboard a ship and shipped himself off to Canada before sneaking back to his home state of Ohio to perform rather inconsequential political mumbo-jumbo for the next few years. But after the war was over, Clement attempted to run on political platforms while still advocating for slavery. However, he suddenly switched his views with the Democratic New Departure policy of 1865, which basically 180'd the Democratic Party's stance on slavery once they realized that it fell out of favor in the public's eye. So, being branded as a no-good slavery supporter for life meant the figurative death of his political career. Instead, he turned to a career in law, which would soon lead to his literal death. On June 17, 1871, Vallandigham met his demise while defending his client, Thomas McGeehan, a young fella accused of shooting and killing one Tommy Myers. Clement claimed that Myers had, in fact, not been murdered but accidentally shot himself with his own gun while getting up to stand. Clement vowed that he could demonstrate this before the court, proving McGeehan's innocence. And so he did. Now, when reenacting a scene that results in someone accidentally blowing a hole through their own tongue.
Wait a minute. This motherfucker took his job too serious, dude. Hello! Yeah, he did. He got blapped. Okay, he took his job way too serious and was like, and this is how he did it. My NCN.
I mean, you want to make sure that you have safety measures in place that would physically prevent you from doing the same thing. Clement didn't do that. Instead, he had mistakenly used a loaded pistol. While demonstrating the scene as Myers, Clement attempted to draw the seemingly harmless firearm from his coat pocket as he stood up. And he blew a hole through his own tummy, just like Myers. Clement Vallandigham died just 12 hours later from his injuries. The verdict? Not guilty. McGeehan was acquitted.
Hey, he got that motherfucker out, though. That boy was free. He did his job, dude. He died for it, though. That's a very serious circumstance. Somebody should have took the bullets out of that gun, and whenever he went to set up, you know what I'm saying? Instead of actually pulling the trigger and shooting himself, he should have just went bang and scared the fuck out of the courtroom. But no, in a very serious scenario, this man blew his guts out of his asshole and killed himself. Mickey, check Discord. I got you, dude.
And was a free man. Until he was murdered a few years later, that is. You can tempt death all you like.
Wait. He just say homie got murdered a few years later? After that other dude going through all that, homie was murdered. Fuck. That's fucked up, dude. Hey, at least he didn't die in prison, though. Like I said, he did his job.
But eventually, he's gonna get what's his. That's what big old Bobby Leach found out in 1926. Born in itty-bitty Britain, England in 1858, Leach grew up to be quite the daredevil. Unfortunately, most of Bobby's early life is lost to time, completely shrouded in mystery. We do know that around the 1880s, he had left boring old England for a more exhilarating life in the States. Apparently an excellent swimmer, Leach eventually landed a gig as a professional high diver with the greatest show on earth, the Barnum and Bailey Circus. There, he performed daringly dangerous feats in front of thousands of eager onlookers. This had quenched the adrenaline-thirsty void in his life for a while, but eventually he retired from this circus life at the age of 50 in order to extend his life expectancy a bit. But that logic was tossed aside rather quickly, as in the early 1900s, Bobby decided to settle down as a humble businessman at Niagara Falls. Blimey, that's a proper waterfall, isn't it? Initially content with just opening up a restaurant, Leach noticed the ever-increasing tourists flocking from afar to see a bunch of water spill over a cliff. So this gave him an idea. The Daredevil was back. Between 1906 and 1911, Leach performed various stunts around the falls, including parachuting from the nearby Honeymoon Bridge to the river below. Over the years, Leach continued to push the envelope, coming up with more and more dangerous stunts to draw larger and larger crowds. Eventually, he faced his biggest challenge, the falls themselves. And on July 25th, 1911, entombed in a customized giant metal barrel, Leach took the plunge. And survived. Sure, he had gashed his forehead, broken his jaw, and all of his kneecaps, but he was still kicking. Bobby Leach became the second person to survive the trip, right behind 63-year-old Annie Taylor. After recovering in the hospital for several months, Leach became a celebrity. Over the next several years, he had plans to make a second bound over the falls, but it never came to be. Why? Well, because in 1926 he went and slipped on a dang orange peel, snapping his leg in half, which went and got infected with gangrene, ultimately killing him a few days later. Remember that death always gets the last laugh.
That's a shame. That's a shame that, homie went through all that and lived through so much just to inevitably die over something so weak. How pitiful. Why he's so wrinkly? Why he in a dress? Hold up, we ain't skipping that shit. He wasn't the only one to do that shit, LMAO. It happened a bunch of times up to like the 70s. Pretty cool that a woman jumped the falls first, though, for real. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Having served the shortest presidential term in United States history, something must have gone down. Well, it was President William Henry Harrison's health bar. The withering president had a pretty impressive career before assuming office. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1791 at the age of 18 and quickly rose through the ranks, serving in the American Indian Wars, which sought to expand U.S. territory further west against native tribes, which they did. Satisfied with his service, Harrison decided to retire from the military at 25 and toss his hat in the ring for a career in politics. Recognized for his leadership skills on the battlefield, then President Guy John Adams gave Harrison control over the territory of Indiana as governor, with the goal of expanding that territory for statehood eligibility. One consequence of this territorial expansion was the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811, which only further displaced natives from the area in order to allow more settlers to, settle. This success cemented Harrison's legacy, as Indiana would eventually become its own state in 1816. But leading military campaigns from afar, that's boring as shit. Harrison missed being in the middle of the action, so he came out from his military retirement to fight in the War of 1812, serving as a major general for the US Army against the smelly redcoats, who weren't too happy seeing the US's throbbing expansion. A bunch of people died, and the war ended in pretty much a stalemate. But the outcome solidified the US as a world power, being able to at least defend itself from a foreign power. This really boosted national morale and pride, and with no restrictions put in place, the US just kept on manifesting that destiny in the coming years. Now back in a time of peace and having successfully satisfied his war boner, Harrison fell back into politics, serving in the House of Representatives, the Senate, and eventually running for president. His opponent was 8th President Martin Van Buren, whose first term experienced an economic depression with the Panic of 1837. Of course, Van Buren was given the blame for the economic downturn, even though it began over a month before he was even in office. The economy stagnated, unemployment rose, and the people were properly pissed. So it's no surprise that when seeking re-election, it was now Harrison who would be the favorite to win. Aww. Harrison won in a landslide, 234 electoral votes to Van Buren's 60, but that wouldn't matter in about a month. Elected in 1841 at the age of 68, Harrison was getting on in his years. Either a stubborn old goat or a complete idiot, he had the habit of being extremely underprepared for the weather. For example, he delivered his inaugural speech in the bitter cold and rain for 2 hours straight, with no overcoat or weather-appropriate clothes.
Connected with the subject is the character of the currency.
Motherfucker was outside in just a pure short sleeve shirt, dude.
The idea of making it exclusively metallic, however well intended, appears to me to be fraught with
Oh, this is gonna suck. Harrison continued to endure exposure to the elements over the next few weeks, eventually contracting a deadly case of pneumonia. Despite his doctors jacking him to the tits with drugs and relying on good old-fashioned bloodletting, Harrison died on April 4th, 1841, exactly 1 month after being elected.
Oh!
When you were a kid, did you ever try jumping off of a sofa using a blanket as a makeshift parachute, but you failed to calculate if the blanket had the proper coefficient of drag necessary to minimize your acceleration due to gravity, leaving you crashing to the floor in a possible concussion? Just me? Well, take that scenario and scale it up to adult size, except this is your blanket, and this is your couch. Meet Franz Reichelt, the mastermind behind the parachute suit prototype. An Austro-Hungarian tailor and inventor, Franz became hyper-fixated on developing a sort of
What the fuck was that noise? It was like, doo-doo. What was that? My camera? What the hell? My camera go off for? Hold on a minute. Y'all still hear me?